And you can all see my screen.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the next session on data importing. And we are going to be looking at the data loader today. We have actually started quite late today because we've been spending quite a lot of time installing the data loader. The install procedure has changed to more of a command line led approach, which is slightly different and a bit more involved than what it used to be. In days past, we used to download a DMG file or a Windows exe file, and we used to install the data loader directly onto the desktop, log into Salesforce, and you'd be up and running within sort of 2 minutes. Now, I believe the data loader has actually gone open source. So the things that you have to do first is to install a Java application directly from Oracle. What was it called again, guys? It's gone out of my head.
Zulu, Open, JDE.
Yeah, so Zulu, Open, JDE, 11. Yep. So, and you can find the instructions, the Mac installation instructions. There's a link to the help and training here. Now, when you download the data loader for Windows or for Mac, you will no longer get an install file. You will get a zip file. And in the zip file, you will see a number of different options. So you will see a configs folder, you will see a dataloader.jar file, you will see a couple of install command files. So what you need to do to install it is to double click install.command, and it will open up terminal, or I can't remember what it is in Windows, but you will get this, it will open up your command line and it will run a script. You will then be invited to actually name a directory as to where you want to store the data loader application files on your computer. I actually called it data loader with a space in the middle, and it just errored out completely. It couldn't find this jar file because I put a space into the name of the file. So because after scratching my head for a couple of minutes and checking the forums on Google, I actually opened up the dataloader.command file in TextEdit, or as a text file, and I had a look at this, and it said, and it basically had said that it couldn't find it. In fact, what it did say was this. It didn't show data. Let me delete that. That's basically what it said before. It said cd/users /data with a colon, and I was like, why is it not understanding the rest of what I've called the file? And then I thought, oh God, maybe this is to do with the space. So I changed it, and then I changed it in here to data loader, all one word, and then I went into my directory and changed it back to take the space out, reran it, and it all worked fine after that. So it does get a little bit choosy and a bit sensitive, just something to bear in mind. But then once you have been able to run that command file, just follow the instructions. Tell it to create an icon on your desktop, tell it to create an icon in your application folder, and then double click the icon, and you'll get the data loader screen here, but you'll be invited to log in. When you log in, you will need your security token, and your security token is something that you can reset in Salesforce. You just go to My Settings here. Click on your name, go to Settings, and you can reset your security token, and then you will be emailed a new security token. You paste that onto the end of your password when you log into the data loader, and then you should be able to log in. Another approach that you can take, which is what we did collectively as a team, is to go to your user record under Setup, and to visit the related list near the bottom of the screen called Login history, and you'll be able to get the IP address that you were logging in with, and then you can whitelist it as an in your network access settings. So go to users, or actually there I am there. I'll just click that quicker in theory. And then scroll down, you'll see your login history. This will actually also help you troubleshoot. So if you're struggling to log into the data loader, just come here and look through, and you'll be able to see why there was an issue. So I can see that when I tried to get through the with the data loader, it said I failed because an API security token was required. So what I did was just copied this source IP address, which changes every day. I don't have a static one, so don't. If you try and hack me, you will be unsuccessful. And when you go, and then you go to network access. So I'm just typing in network under settings. Come on, please. Thank you. Yeah, network access. And then you'll see that you can create a trusted IP range. So all I did was just pasted my IP address into the start and the end, and then went back to data loader to log in, and it logged me in successfully. So we're good. Okay, now that we are here, let's do some Trailhead, shall we? So those of you who've managed to log in with the data loader and install the data loader, fingers crossed this is the only time you'll have to do that. Once it's on your machine, it's on your machine. So we're going to do the badge today that is called Import and Export with Data Management Tools. So I will just paste the link to this Trailhead into the chat for you, and we shall have some fun with data loader. Okay, so the first thing we do is to do this badge is we need to go back to revisit the data import wizard one more time, just to refresh our memory. So we did this yesterday, and then we're going to go through and we're going to export some data using the data loader, and then we're going to update some data using the data loader. Let's have a look at another look at the data import wizard. But before we do, we have to download a leads file. So I'm going to copy that link address and paste it into the chat for you. Here is where you can download your leads file. Now you'll notice this is not a CSV file. This is an Excel file. And we will be doing some cleaning in the Excel file first of all. So as we talked about yesterday, a great way to ensure that you've got clean and accurate data is to actually do some of the legwork before you import it into Salesforce. And the same goes for updates and data migrations as well. Removing duplicates, checking that you're okay with blanks, and if you're not, making sure that they're filled. You can use filters, you can use text to columns, you can use Vlookups, you can use concatenates to influence a lot of your data. And if you think back to the sharing and visibility challenge that I set you back a few weeks ago, that was exactly what I did to produce that data set that we were loading into our orgs to test the sharing with. I literally just opened it up in Excel, and I did a lot of preparatory work with the data itself in order to get it ready for going into Salesforce. Let me just find Excel. Excel seems to be hiding. Come back, Excel. So here is the leads file. Now let's have a look and see what we are meant to be doing here. Okay, so we've got to replace any instances of SF with San Francisco. So let's do that. Now, there's a couple of ways you can do this. I personally you can use find and replace. So you could highlight this whole column here. You could do edit, find and replace. And you could say find all instances of SF and replace with San Francisco. Now, if you're doing find and replace, make sure you tick match case, because if you end up having any other towns in there with SF in it, you don't want to necessarily write the word San Francisco halfway through another town's name. So you can do that and just replace all if you want to. There's only 4. Another option that you have is to filter purely personal preference. Everyone works their own way in here. I like filters. And find all of your SFs here. Personally, I do think that find and replace is going to be better. Stop it. How's this go? And, you know, if you like keyboard shortcuts and you're confident using them in Excel, then that might be a preference of yours. Okay, just a few individual tricks there. Okay, the next thing we have to do is replace any instances of Caliph or Cali with CA. So that's going to be in the state and province field. So I'm going to do find and replace again. So we've got Caliph, replace with CA, match case, or find entire cells. So replace all, and we've done 3. And then I'm just going to take the F off that and then replace it with CA. So that's 2. Okay, so now we have a consistent format for all of our states and provinces. Now, as with any IT program ever in the entire world, please make sure that you save your file as you go. I'm saving this on the desktop because I like to, every time I do a function, I think it stems back from the old days of Excel 97 when you only had 65,000 rows, and obviously the Excel resource was capped. So sometimes I would be doing a very large find and replace or a very large filter, and I'd be sat there just waiting for it to catch up. So I got into the habit of saving after every single change I made into a spreadsheet, and it's just followed me through the decades. Okay, replace any inconsistent rating values with equivalent pick list values already present in Salesforce, and it very kindly tells us what those values are. So we've got cold, warm, and hot. So let's have a look at the ratings. So that will be over here. Yeah. Look what they've got. Hot, ice cube, freezing, on fire. Yes, this looks fun. So I think that we can guess that ice cubed and freezing means cold. So I'm just going to do this like that. So I've just filtered in this instance, and I've just replaced them all because it's quicker than going for find and replace in this instance. Hot and on fire. I'm just going to copy that there and replace my on fires. So I should now have cold, warm, and hot. And save. Let's see. So the next thing that we have to do, now you've got the file in better shape to save your work. Absolutely. And this time we're going to save it as a file called lead import, and it's going to be a CSV file. So I'm going to save that on my desktop. So say file, save as, lead import, and change the format to CSV, not Excel 95. Oh my God. It's been a while. And save it on the desktop. There we go. Double check. Yeah, it's in the save as type pick list, choose to save as a CSV file. Marvelous. Okay, I'm going to close this now, and I'm going to go back to Salesforce. So I'm going to go into my setup area, and I'm going to type in data import wizard. And here is the fun part where I get to map all of my my columns to the fields in Salesforce. So we're going to launch the wizard. And we're going to map to leads. We're going to create some leads. Now, I believe we are adding new leads. Let me just check. Yeah, add new records. We're going to match lead by email, and we're going to assign new leads to the source web. So add new records. We're going to match lead by email. And all we're doing here is saying that when we load these leads in, where do we say they've all come from? We just say they've come from the web. Another thing you can do is to use assignment rules to assign leads to different owners. And we haven't really covered assignment rules, but we can do, because we'll be looking at Service Cloud next week, and it works the same way for case assignment rules, and I want to cover that. So And it's just a simple way of saying, you know, if a lead comes in through an automatic means or a data loader means, and you don't know how they should be allocated, you can actually tell Salesforce to run an assignment rule that will then allocate the leads out to different users or different queues, depending on like geographical region or size of customer or annual revenue, you know, all of those things that you can configure yourself. So we're not going to use that in this instance. You can also choose whether or not you want to assign a lead to a campaign, whether you want to trigger off your workflow rules and processes, or whether you want to notify the new owners by email. If you've got lots and lots, be careful with this box. If you've got lots and lots of leads, you could have a lot of annoyed business development reps banging on your door. All we're going to do is match the lead by email, and we're going to assign new leads to the web source. Then we're going to go and get our CSV file. You can drag it or you can upload it through the file chooser. Personally, I like the file chooser. Go to my desktop and browse for the file. I hit next. And now I get to see if there's any fields kind of mapped together, etc. And it gives me a good indication of what that loaded data will look like. So first name is mapped to first name on the CSV, last name to last name, email to email, phone to phone, title to title, company to company. Now, this unmapped field is address line 1. This will map to the street field name in Salesforce. So we just search for street and map it. Perfect. Okay. So let's scroll down again. And then the other thing we have is owner. So owner is actually in the CSV file, but we haven't mapped it yet. So we just click map and find owner, lead owner, and map. This is why we say, you know, it's good practice in your CSV file to match your column headings exactly to the field names, because it will just automatically map them and save you a lot of time. Next. Okay, it's found 15 mapped fields and we can start. Let's go for it. So my import has started. Let's go and have a look at the job. We've got 44 records that have been processed. It has run an upsert because we've told it to check for email. We've said match by email. So it's going to say, if you find a matching email address on any lead records in this org, then we update them, update the other fields with the data that we have. If not, then we create a new lead. So let's have a look at the result. So I clicked view results, and then you get a CSV file that says this is what happened. So let's see what happened. And it opens up in my other screen every time. Don't crash. Be still with me, everyone. Thought my computer had crashed. So you get all of the IDs of the new leads that have been created, and then you get a success and created is true. So it's actually gone ahead and done all of that for you. And then we can come through here and verify our step to get our first 100 points. I wish you all great success. Natasha, can you share your screen? Oh. Am I not sharing my screen?
No, I have you pinned. I fixed it, sorry. And I could see you, but not the other one. I'm too late. Sorry, I meant to fix that too.
Okay, no problem. Okay, hopefully some of you have, hopefully you have passed that one. Let's move on to the next one. So the next thing we're going to do is this time we're going to use the data loader. Now, as you can see, okay, quick one. Afshan says owner is the owner ID. Yes, it usually is. I was surprised at that, but it's actually matched it by name through the data import wizard. Whereas if you were doing it through the data loader, you would need to make sure that you've got the owner ID in your CSV file. Okay, so what are we going to do now? Well, so Trailhead, first of all, takes you through the process of resetting your password and then downloading the data loader and installing it and all of those things. So what we're going to do next is we are going to export accounts. So what we have to do first is open up the data loader, and we're going to hit, you get kind of several different options, as I explained yesterday on our call about what the different options are. So obviously, in order to log into the data loader, you have to tell the data loader what function you're going to complete first of all. So if you're not logged in, you just click export and then you'll be invited to log in. If you're already logged in, then you should see this screen here, which is your export screen. Now, in this screen, you will see all of the main objects that are in your present in your org. Now, this is where you can see the metadata that as it relates to the object model. You won't see any metadata around automation. It's just the data model that you see. Now, if you click show all Salesforce objects, look at all of these other objects that you can see here that you can manipulate and load data into. It's quite incredible how many different system tables there are. And I've actually used the data loader before to insert records into a table called account share. Account share here is where I actually, and I remember we talked about adding account team members and so on. Well, people can, there's this concept of programmatic sharing where you can actually create share records that open up access to individuals, and you can actually use the data loader to import sharing reasons. Let's say, for example, there's a one-off list of people who need access to certain opportunities or accounts or cases, or any object actually that is set to private. You can actually call this the way that you can do it through the back door, basically. So you can export all the data from the account share table to get the format that you need, fill it in with the data that you need, and then just run an insert on the data loader. Now, pretty much anything that you can see here in this list of objects can be manipulated using code. To a limited extent, they can also be manipulated using Flow and Process Builder. If you can see it in here, then you can upload data into it, and you can export data into it. So what you're looking at is all the objects that are kind of behind the scenes here. Now, in this case, I've just taken that off just to get rid of some of the noise. We're going to export accounts for this Trailhead badge. So we just select accounts, and we're going to call this accounts export.csv. So type in the name of your file, of the file name that you want to see when it exports. So accounts export. Did it have a space? Yes. Then you click browse, and you can choose where you want to save this file. It will basically export data from the accounts object, put it in a CSV file, and you can choose where it goes. So I will just put this in my downloads folder. And you'll see that the whole path comes up in here, and you can make changes to it as you see fit. Once you're happy with the directory it's going to be saved into and the name of the file, you can click next. And here is where you actually build up your query visually. Now, what you will also see down here is that as you start to select fields and conditions, there is a query being built here. It looks like SQL. It's called a SOQL query in Salesforce world because it's Salesforce object query language. Simple. Now, if you're exporting accounts, you can either go and click the various fields that you want to see, or you can just select all. And you notice how it builds your query up here. So it just says select all these fields from account. What does Trailhead want us to do? Trailhead says we are just going to get ID, name, and site. So clear all fields. We want the ID. So I just typed in I, and that took me there. N for name. and tick the box, and S for site. Let's go and find a site. Excellent. What's the next thing we want to do? We want to put some conditions in. So you can type or copy and paste a where clause into your text box here. So I'm just going to copy that. All we're going to say is we want type is like customer, and append that to the end of our query down here. So all it's going to do is extract a list of accounts where the type equals customer. Notice how it's a different syntax to what you would see in the filters. You would put where type equals customer, whereas this uses a more SQL focused syntax. Okay, what else do we have to do? We click finish, we click yes, and it exports the data. So we have 12 successes and 0 errors. Now, obviously, you can view the extraction here at its most simple level. And if you're using Windows, you can actually export it as a CSV file directly from here. If you're a Mac user, you're going to have to go and find it. So I stored it into my downloads folder. 2 seconds. There we go. So in my downloads folder, there's my accounts export. So when I open it up, here's my file. ID, name, and site, where type equals customer. Now, if I really wanted to make sure that it had behaved the way it should have done, I would have probably belt and braces exported the type field as well. What you get in the columns here is the API names of the fields. So if I exported custom fields, I would get the custom field name _C. This is why I like to export data from the table before I manipulate it, because then at least I know for a fact that my headings match up correctly if I export first. It will also match on field labels as well. So we've opened the file. If you're using Windows, click Open an External Program or Open Excel. Leave the data loader open while viewing the file. We're going to sort the account name column A to Z and save the file. So in we go here, data, sort A to Z. So it starts with Burlington and ends in University of Arizona, and then save. Okay. What are we doing there? Sort the account name column A to Z. Right. Then we've got different instructions. If you're a Windows user, in Excel, click B to select the name column. Click the sort or sort and filter button in the top right of the Excel Home tab to sort it A to Z. And if you're a Mac user, just use sort and filter like I just did. Okay, so when you're ready, you just need to click verify step. Now this one's based on trust. It can't check whether you've exported data or not using the data loader. Okay, and then we're going to go on to our final step, which is to update data. So Jeremy says, let me have a look. If you type in the window, the single quote may be curved, which is a different and unrecognized SOQL character. Okay. Yeah, so it might be better off. You might be better off with. Oh, okay. Yeah, in which case you'd be better off pasting that where clause in. Okay, so the next thing we're going to be doing is we're going to update using the data loader. So I'm going to copy the link address and paste it into the chat for you. And from that link, you can download a file called account site. I guess we are going to use our account export file as well. Okay. Okay, so now we have our accounts export here, and we have our account site here. So I'm going to okay. You don't arrange. Oh, great. Thanks for putting it on the wrong screen. I was trying to get them both open side by side. I managed to do it, but on a different screen. Okay, so I've got both my files. From your desktop, open up the accounts export file, copy and paste the contents of the site column from the accounts site file into the blank site column in the accounts export file. So here is your account site, and this is why it told us to sort A to Z, basically. So what we're doing is overriding this data, and I just to make certain, I've got 11 accounts here, and I've got 12 accounts here. So which one is the rogue one? In this instance, I am going to do something else. I'm going to do a Vlookup because I can't be certain that I've got this exact same number of records because we've been using this playground for other things. So I'm going to do a Vlookup on the name of the account, and I'm going to find it in this file, and I'm going to bring back column 2, which is the site, and I want an exact match. Copy that down, and now I can see immediately that it's Get Cloudy is the rogue account without me having to eyeball check it. I'm then just going to move that site over to this column here. So notice I moved the header over from column C to column D, and then I'm going to move Get Cloudy single location over to column D and delete that. Now, as they said in the video yesterday, if I then delete the site column, I'm going to get an error. Not the site column. If I delete the name column, I'm going to get an error. So what I want to do, just to make certain as well, is I'm going to copy and paste the values. So Command C, and then paste values. That gets rid of the formula, keeps the data, save it. So all I've done is just made sure that the site matches what is in your account site file for your export file. And actually the reason that we know we should use this file as well is because we have all the record IDs. Because we exported those accounts and we exported the ID, we now know we're now able to load this into the data loader application, and the data loader will know which account records to update. If we try and match account name to this, it's just going to go ID of incorrect type, because it's looking for your unique ID number rather than the name. So the next thing to do is we are going to file and save as, and we're going to change the file name to updated account site import, and it will be a CSV file. Mac users, I'm not using numbers. But if you are using numbers, that's your choice. Save. So I'm going to do file, save as. Just comma separated values file already, so that's fine. I'm just going to paste the new name for the file and save it. That now means that I've got a copy of the file as it was before and a copy of the file as it is now. So if I ever need to roll back for whatever reason, then I can. One of my favorite tricks is actually to do all of my preparation in a Excel workbook, and only to create CSV files when I'm really ready to run the load through the data loader. Don't save. There we go. Okay, so now that I have my file, if you are using numbers, make sure you export it to CSV file and give it the name updated account site import. and then close your file. You've got to close your file, otherwise it just goes, hang on a minute, I can't load this because someone else is looking at it. So make sure you close your file. In your data loader, we close all of our other windows. Good. And we are then going to run an update. So we're going to select update as our option. We're going to click account because that's the object we're working with. And we're going to browse to find our new updated account site import file, which is the most recent one in my downloads folder, and hit open. And then you click next. So you can see what it's done here is it's found the file path and put it into the application. You've selected the object. Bearing in mind, if someone goes and creates a new field on the account while you've got an active session with your data loader, you will have to log out and log back in again to see that new field. Just letting you know. Click next. It initializes the file and comes back with a list of a summarized number of rows. So it's identified that it can import 12 records or update 12 records. And as you can see here, there are 3 fields in your CSV file. So just like the data import wizard, it recognizes what the columns are in your file. Now, 2 things you can do. You can create or edit a map, or you can choose an existing map. Choosing, I'll go to create and edit a map first of all. If we click that, you notice how here are all your Salesforce fields for the account object, and even your custom fields as well. Remember, we did an upsell opportunity. We had our serial numbers. Anything with $_C you can identify as being custom. Now, something you can do, which is do carefully. I've seen many times before when data loads have gone wrong because someone's auto matched the columns and then just trusted it and hasn't checked it. Always check it. If your column names match a field label or a field API name, then this auto match fields to columns will work beautifully and save you a lot of time. Sometimes it doesn't work like that. Sometimes you will have, random fields columns that exist as a field in one system that you then need to map to another system. And what can be very helpful with them with those kinds of files is not necessarily to change the headings in your CSV file, but actually to map them. So what that can mean is sometimes dragging fields down manually like this, and then you can actually save that mapping. Now it will create a .sdl file, and it's effectively a way of saying this field in Salesforce equals this field in your CSV file, and it means that you can call upon that mapping for future loads or to deal with errors if it's not loaded in or updated all of the records that you intended on updating in the first time around. I've used this a few times. The other reason that you use SDL files is if you call the data loader to run from a command line, sitting on a server or on a computer somewhere that maybe runs a scheduled job to run the data loader and perform updates and inserts. And in those situations, you need an SDL file for it to run. Otherwise, it doesn't know what mappings to call upon. Anyway, so we don't use that very often. Some people do. It just depends on the environment you're working in. All I'm going to do for this instance is just auto match my columns. In fact, I'm going to clear first and then auto match because I dragged all kinds of nonsense onto it. So it was definitely going to fail. So make sure that your ID is mapped, that the name column is mapped to the account name and the site is mapped to the site. I might save that anyway, just in case. So account update mapping. Okay. And then if I do choose an existing map, I can pick it from here, open it, and it will just map automatically. Okay, so it's just like storing a framework somewhere that you can call upon. When you're ready, click next. Now it's going to ask you, when we've run this job, where do you want to see your success and error files being stored? And one of the things I like to do is if I'm doing a data load job, I will typically create a new folder which represents what I'm trying to achieve. So account updates, and then in this folder, I will put all of my files that I'm working with, so like my CSV files, my working Excel file, my SDL files. And then I'll create a new folder inside, which is called success and error files. And I will tell the data loader to store all my success and error files in that directory so that I don't end up with a great big long list of files. And it just helps me keep them in one place, or an easy to identify place. So once you've decided where you want to store your success and error files, you just hit finish. And it will say, you can't undo this, because you can't. There's no rollback with data loads. No rollback whatsoever. So please be careful, and please make sure that you're confidently ready before you hit this final blue button, which should be red. Are we sure we want to proceed? Yes, we are. And it will run. And as you can see, that has failed miserably. So let's have a look at why we've got some errors. So view errors. Account number must be numeric. Account number must be 8 characters long. Oh, that's hilarious. So do you remember earlier we had these validation rules that we put in throughout our previous Trailhead badges? These validation rules are kicking in as we load the data. So you've got two options here. One is you can either fix the data. So you could say, you could just go back to your file, add a new column, which is account number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Or you go back and disable your validation rules. So that's two options. Now, the trade-offs between the two, validation rule ensures that, at least the data is going to get updated. But it might not. If you switch it off, there's the possibility that this data could be incorrect according to your business process rules. So I would always try and make sure that I would always play a game of beat the validation rule. If you can get your data loader in without it hitting any validation rules, then you've actually either, this kind of uncovers several things. One, it uncovers that your data is, either needs correcting or it can highlight a validation rule perhaps not being fit for purpose anymore, or being out of date, or being irrelevant. What we want to try and do is avoid, and it gives you the opportunity to assess whether those validation rules have really considered every scenario, and whether you need to add any extra, any more clauses and any extra logic to that validation rule to ensure that it's covered more scenarios like data loads. So I'm going to just go back to my file for this one. And it's a good thing I did save the SDL file, because it's going to save me time when I come to fix the data. So I'm going to go and find my CSV file, which is on my desktop, I believe. Downloads. And in fact, I'm going to move all my files into my new folder here. Now notice if I go into success and error files, there's two CSV files. One is success, which should be empty because nothing happened, as you can see. And the other will be error, which is all 12 records with all of those validation errors in it, as you can see here. So to fix it, it wants a numeric number, and it wants a numeric account number, and it wants a 8-digit number. So I'm just going to open this. And I'm just going to add in account number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, obviously, this is going to be horribly invalid data right now, but it will get me through the validation rules. Save it, close it, let's go again. So we're going to go update, count, choose our CSV file, which is one level up from this one. Going to hit next. It will contain 12 records. I can choose an existing map. Now notice what it does here. So I click the SDL file. It maps those 3 fields, but it doesn't map the 4th. So I'm going to have to edit it. I can clear the mapping and auto match. Oh, look, it's done it. And then what I can do is overwrite. So I could actually say, you know, go and overwrite my existing SDL file to include the new field mapping if I want to. Oh, fingers crossed I haven't crashed the app. Come on. What's happening? Yeah. Just taking a moment to catch up. Come on. Okay, I think I broke it. I've got a dialog box that I can't get rid of. Oh, come on.
Gemma,
Yeah.
the utility has been creating unanchored pop-ups, so look behind your other windows.
Thanks, Jeremy. Nothing on this one. No, I've got nothing. That's really frustrating. I don't know why it's doing that. Come on, man.
The save on that front one?
Yeah, I've done that a few times. It's just not, doesn't like me. Okay, don't do that. Okay, let's have another go. Bloody computers, who'd have them? Applications, data loader, 48. This is where it breaks and it doesn't open again, right? Hello, are you there? No, no. We lost it. Lost it right at the good bit. Java file could not be launched. Oh, it's coming up with the same error that we had before. Let me open up with text edit. Data loader. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, sorry everybody. I don't. Oh, here it is on the desktop. No, apologies everybody. I seem to have broken it just by force quitting it. Let me close the command line. And then go to desktop. Applications. No, for some reason it is refusing to open. Okay, I'm going to cheat. Let's just do this last bit then. So update. Production, resourceful wolf. I will just go and get my password. And then I will look into, because I'm on the spot a little bit, I will go and look into that issue and figure out how to avoid it in the future. And I'll get back to you. Trailhead. Resourceful. Okay, copy password. I'm sticking with what I know. It's the same experience as well. So we're going to update, go to our account, find our file with our new account names in it, our account numbers in it. Go to our updated import file. Hit next. Here's our 12 records. And we're going to create or edit a map, which I should have done to begin with, and then auto match. And you can see that the account number, the ID, the name, and the site have all mapped over correctly. Hit OK. Hit next. Just double check that our success and error files are saving in the right place. So, which they were not. And let's go to success. There are files, this one, because I created it today. And we're going to store them in the same directory. Hit open and click finish. And it will say again, the action you're about to take cannot be undone. Are you sure you want to proceed? Hit yes. 12 successes, 0 errors. Let's look at the successes. There we go. So we can see that all of our items have now been updated. And since we added the account number in as well, the validation rules have not fired because we have entered data to prevent them from showing as delivering a true result, therefore giving an error message. Remember, validation rules fire if a record is updated and it meets the criteria of the validation rule. So now it no longer meets the criteria of the validation rule because we've added in the account number and it's numeric and it's 8 characters. So we're able to update. Should we go and have a look at what it looks like in the front end? Let's go and have a look. So home, and we're going to our accounts. It's actually very cool if you've got a large volume of these. I actually, slightly nerdy, I actually like to create a list view, which is, updated this week. So I'll do like last modified by equals today or something. And I just watch this list of counts just grow as the data loader is doing its job. And it just gives me a little extra reinforcement that it's actually working. So as you can see here, we now have our account sites, which are, we had single location for Get Cloudy, and we had our US Midwest, US East, Southwest, etc., that have all been updated in the file. So let's go and let's see what it wants us to do next. So we've saved our success and error files. Now we create a list view. So we're going to create a list view in the sales application, and we're going to call it accounts modified today. Oh, that was exactly what I was just talking about. So in your org, go to your accounts tab and click on the cog and click new list view. We're going to call it accounts modified today. And who needs to see it? Let's have a look. only I can see this list view. Okay, so this is what we would know. This is what we would refer to as being a private list view. It's not public, means that it's only for you. And there's a permission that you can give to people on their profiles, which is called manage public list views. We give those permissions out quite sparingly because if we give them out to everybody, it can result in lots and lots and lots of very noisy list views appearing all over the place. So it's something you want to keep relatively controlled or centralized, but then allow people to create their own personal ones, and they can edit existing ones and then do a save as and then make their own changes to them as well. And we apply the same principle to reports and email templates too. So only I can save this list view, so we're going to save that. And then what do we need to put in it? All we need to do is add a filter, which is last modified date equals today. So we're going to edit. Are we looking at all accounts? Aha, doesn't even say. So anyway, just leave it as my accounts because they should belong to you anyway. So last modified date equals, and then just type in the word today. You can also use last 7 days. You can use this week. You can use this fiscal quarter, this fiscal year, any of the report timelines that you can see when you go to the reports tab, you can use as a dynamic filter for your list view as well. So just hit done and save. You should now only have about 11 or 12 accounts. And there we go. There are the ones that have been changed today. Keep going to the wrong tab. So click done, click save, make sure that they were all done. And now is the time when you can get your badge. So come along to Trailhead and click verify step, and it will run a check on your data and it will run a check on your list view. In fact, I suspect that this list view is to help the Trailhead check. Let's have a look. Who's got confetti? I know I have. Hooray! Well done. And well done, everybody, for, yes, definitely hard earned today. Well done, everybody, for installing the data loader. I think we should have a play with it. And the way that we can have a play with this in our homework time is let's take a look at the data that we have for, I can't remember what week it was. It was like week 5 or something, wasn't it? It was for sharing. Let's have a look. Yes. Oh, good guess. So if you scroll down to the homework section, was it the homework? No, it wasn't. It was the week before. It was week 4. I think I remember talking about it on week 5 because I felt so sorry for you all for creating all this data manually. Week 3. Didn't be week 6. We'll find it. Aha. Yes, it is in week 3, everybody. So what I'd like you to do this week is to actually take the data that we created in week 3 and to have a go at loading it again. I know it will create duplicates because you've been through the process of creating them manually. Don't worry about that. I'd like you to have a go at adding all of these leads and opportunities into Salesforce. Now, just to note, one thing you're going to need to do, think about what, in fact, I will slightly tweak this homework to make it easier for you. So what you're going to need to do is in this data, you have got you've got a list of people and you've got companies. Okay, so you're going to have to think about what order you're going to import your data in. Now, what I suggest you do here is actually, instead of loading leads and converting leads manually, what I'd like you to do is actually to create accounts to import these as accounts and contacts. Okay, so you can use the import wizard to do that, because it will do the accounts and contacts together. When you've got your IDs, you'll need to then export all your account IDs, and you're going to need to match, because then what I want you to do is to load in some opportunities against those accounts. And for a bonus, you can load in these tasks as well. Now, just a note on tasks with the data loader. If you're loading tasks into Salesforce, you need to click Insert, and what you need to find is just it's an actual thing called task there. Activities are always a weird one to load in, because because you configure them in you configure them all in one place, which is called activities. But then when you look at the data model in the background, you have tasks and events are two different things. So for this instance, you'll need to load tasks. So I'm going to set you that to do. I've also got a badge for you to do. So this is like week 3. For this week, I've actually found you a badge to work on, which is kind of going back over a couple of things to cement the knowledge for you. Week 10, where is it? Yeah, week 10. So complete. Unfortunately, for some reason, when I put the link in the other day, it didn't actually show the badge like it does for other pages. It's really odd. But I'm setting you a project to do, and I'm setting you some data to load. In your project, there is it's a project to build an event registration app. If you've done this already, fantastic. If you haven't, it will give you a chance to play around with some automation and also import data into your brand new data model. So that's going to be a fun task for you. And then the second task is to actually go through the data that you created manually in week 3. I will give you a new version of this spreadsheet tonight and put it onto the site for you to use, and to import your accounts and contacts, and then use the data loader to import opportunities. And then your bonus is to upload some tasks. Now you'll have to do some Excel work. You'll have to do some Vlookups to find these contact IDs. In order to link them to the right people. You'll need to use the company name and do some Vlookups there in order to locate the right account IDs and load them against that. Does that sound fun? Yeah, don't all jump at once. One thing I would say is that once you've done this, you've actually cracked the core platform for sure, because in this 10 weeks, you've all learned how to create fields. You've learned how the object model works. You've learned about page layouts and compact layouts. You've learned about validation rules. You've learned about process builder. You've learned about flow, and you've had a look at reports. We're going to do reports in a few weeks in more detail. And now you're importing data. So if I'm honest, you lot are probably already ready to sit your admin cert based on what we've been doing in the last 10 weeks. How does everybody feel about that? If you are interested in working towards your admin cert, then there's some things that you can do. On Trailhead, there is actually there are some quests that are running at the moment, so you can challenge yourself to win fun prizes. And one of the prizes they're offering from Salesforce at the moment is free Salesforce Administrator certification vouchers. And the way that you can achieve those is to complete any of these quests. So there's a few things. There's a thing called Superset, which is, we're still running it. Yes. So there's a Road to Ranger quest that's running throughout May where you can win a certification voucher. So for everybody who gets to the Ranger rank, which is 100 badges and a set number of points, you will get entered into a prize draw. First of all, you'll be contributing $10 to the COVID-19 emergency response. And also you've got an entry to win a Salesforce certification voucher. There's also another certification voucher up for grabs if you complete any super badge. Now, for those of you who haven't seen super badges are a really good way to to apply the knowledge that you've been gathering over the last 10 weeks. And these super badges are actually kind of cool because they don't give you the answers. They don't, and they're sometimes a little bit cryptic. They make you really work for it so that you can so that you can really show that you know what you're talking about with this. So under credentials, click super badges, and you'll see that there's something here called the admin superset. And this helps you prepare for the admin certification as well. So if that's something that you're interested in doing, I can highly recommend completing these 3 super badges. They do take a bit longer. That's why they're called super badges. They're more like big projects, big assignment projects. But I think you could probably complete one of these badges in a weekend, given what you've been working on in the last 10 weeks. So as an extra bonus, you know, I can highly recommend taking on some of these super badges, and it will just help you even more with your admin certification prep. In terms of more resources for admin certification prep, there's obviously a trail mix on here. So all you have to do is just come to credentials, click on super badges, and you'll see these roles here, and that will give you more information about where to go for that certification prep. You can also pay $20 to do a practice exam for the certified admin. And also there is, and one more thing, I know I'm just barraging you with information right now. Have a look at these guys. There is a website called Focus on Force. Focus on Force gives you admin practice exams that you can do, and a load of and directs you to some really good certification courses as well. So it is community run, community led, and it really, a lot of people have really found it helpful because the practice exams are not giving you the answers. They're not certification dumps. They are helping you to prepare. And there are comprehensive study guides and things there for you to use. So if you are considering the admin certification, I would say that you've learned the majority of it now. Now is a good time to practice and start preparing. And you can do them from home. All you need is a webcam and a quiet place for an hour and a half. I know it's probably nigh on impossible in many situations, but if you can encourage the kids to go out for the day, for the afternoon, or whatever, then it's worth just shutting yourself in a little room and going through. They're all multiple choice questions, all of them, and you come out with a shiny certification that might look a little bit like one of these. And you never know, you might get the bug. You might want to look at some other directions as well. So we're not finished by any stretch, but I just wanted to mention the admin certification just to make you aware of it and to give you all the confidence actually that you might, I don't know if you need to hear it or not, but you really have learnt the majority of what you need for that certification. So it's something that you should consider. You don't have to do it, but if you want to consider it. Thank you, everybody. I'm going to go and get your homework sorted out. I'm going to upload the course materials, and I also have to dash because we're having a Ladies Be Architects study group now, which is all about master data management. So I have to dash and help our Australian colleagues. So thank you so much for joining us again. Thank you for putting up with my impatience with installing the app and basically wrecking it halfway through. Really appreciate it. Hope you've learned something. Hope you're still enjoying the course, and thanks for sticking with it week after week. Take care and have a really good day. Yeah, thank you. And thank you, Jeremy. You seriously helped me as well.
No problem. So, you know, I spent years loading